There used to be electric mass transit systems in hundreds of North American cities. Few survive today. Most were purchased by a consortium that included General Motors, Firestone, and Standard Oil. Shortly after, they were dismantled. Between 1936 and 1950, National City Lines, a holding company for the GM consortium, bought out more than 100 electric railways in 45 cities. California transit systems destroyed by the GM consortium included those in San Jose, Fresno, Sacramento, San Diego, and Los Angeles. These were destroyed and replaced with GM buses and cars. In 1949, GM and its partners were convicted of criminal conspiracy in a Chicago court. They were fined $5,000. Toronto was destined to get a fully crosstown light rapid transit system. But this time, it wasn't GM that killed it. It was Ford. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, who drives an SUV and hates streetcars, also canceled a vehicle registration tax of $60 per year. In order to make up the revenue lost by this tax cut, he reduced frequency on inter-suburban bus routes. These were used primarily by people of color working shifts in precarious jobs. These were also the people who would have benefited most from the Transit City Light Rail plan. Now, a single transit fare is expected to rise by 25 cents. This will cost transit users about an extra $150 per year. So transit users will be waiting longer for the bus and subsidizing a tax cut for Toronto drivers. The operating costs of the Toronto Transit Commission is over 70% funded by fares. This is a far higher percentage than other transit systems in North America and the world. There is minimal contribution from higher levels of government that collect corporate and income taxes. These taxes would be the natural sources of funding for public transit in Canadian cities. Instead, poor people are the ones paying user fees for crumbling transit systems becoming less accessible daily. Hundreds of people die yearly during heat alerts. Particularly at risk are pregnant women, senior citizens, very young children, people with disabilities and chronic illnesses, and people living in substandard housing. During extreme heat alerts, municipalities often counsel people to seek shelter in air-conditioned cooling centers across the city. No regard is ever given to how these people will get to a cooling center. So, on extreme heat and smog alert days, public transit should be free. This would reduce smog and allow people to access cooling centers. Free public transit would also get drivers out of their cars, improving local air quality and alleviating one of the main sources of climate change. That's the idea that's brought these people together today in Toronto's Yonge Dundas Square. The Greater Toronto Workers' Assembly's Free and Accessible Transit Committee, the Fair Fare campaign of Sistering, and the Disability Action Movement Now are moving this plan forward. People have come from across Toronto to jumpstart the necessary change. Instead of just trying to conserve historical gains, it's time to start making progress again. Here in Toronto, the push is on for subsidized pass for persons on low income, for free public transit during heat and cold alerts, and for deep discount for social agencies who bulk buy transit tickets for free distribution. These are the first steps towards a free transit system for all. So when you're in Toronto, ditch the Ford to ride the rocket, hopefully free soon. In Toronto, for Rabble TV, I'm Umberto da Silva, not Rex Murphy.